Hey Jansen.
Hey, Judy.
Hey, it's hard to tell, like if it's daytime for me and nighttime for you. Uh,
Yeah.
it's kind of dark and gloomy where I am right now. But anyway, thanks folks for joining us this morning again for another edition of AI² Workjams. Today we'll be talking about maximizing QBR success with personalized insights, of course, using GenAI and automation. And with me, Jansen Tan, who's uh, why should I say anything about you, Jansen? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm Jensen, right? So I'm a senior product insights analyst here at Workato. I've been here for about 4 years already, and a lot of the things that I do is creating data products, getting insights accessible, and then making these insights actionable, right? So yeah, that's what I do, right?
Thanks, Jansen. And today's topic it's particularly exciting. It combines data and insights, automation, and then the new superpower that's out there. That's Gen AI. We can go to the next. So, folks, just curious, like before we start, as you're aware, like for any LinkedIn live event, we are hosting this once every month, and the recording is available on the same link that you registered for. Ask questions in comments, we'll answer them. If you're unable to answer them during the demo, we'll follow up with you. But please engage, keep it interactive. The more questions you ask, the better. We all learn together. Next. Gen AI, it's new. It's almost like more than a year old now, but still it's relatively new. So tell us like where you are in your journey with Gen AI. If you're learning and exploring, evaluating, you already have some projects that you're working on, or like a lot of companies, you're still watching it from the sidelines because of security concerns. Or the last one is if you're unsure how to get value, what is the right project to get started with, where it will have big business impact. Uh, Wherever you are, just do tell us, share your thoughts. Next. AI, and we talk about like whether it be automation, whether it's using AI. There are several opportunities across all business functions. These are just some that we have listed for CS ops, but there are like several thousand if you look internally within your companies. Any business process that you have, it's rife with opportunities for automation and also usage of AI. The goal of these sessions is to pick a few of these and show this in action, like exactly how you can implement this and what the outcomes could be for your business. So today we'll dive into the next one, Jansen. Today we'll dive into a very critical business process, especially if you're a product or a services company, the quarterly business review. The challenge, if you have been on the CS team or a sales team, and if you have been part of this QBR processes, you know it takes too long to prepare the data about your customers, how they're using your product services. It's scattered across several application BI tools, maybe your data warehouse. The support tickets might be in some ticket management system like Jira, account information in the Salesforce. There may be several other conversations, communication that might have happened over emails. Gathering all that, collating all that to make sense of where customers are in their journey, and understanding what their goals are and how you are helping them accomplish their goals. All this takes several days, sometimes weeks. And we are sharing our experience of how this process worked in the past and what we have done with automation and AI to completely speed up the process, but also give our sales and CS teams tools that makes them better prepared and effective in these conversations with our customers, bringing value. So next one, Jensen. Yeah, and I think I just spoke with that. Like any manual process, it's long, painful, it's subjective, so it's error prone and tedious. Typically, like what we observed before we automated this process, it used to take more than a week for a CS or salesperson to put together this deck. And because of lack of the right insights, the right kind of information to have these conversations with customers, there were low cross-sell, upsell, renewal, and unproductive QBRs. And teams were primarily poorly prepared for these conversations. So Jansen will walk us through. That said, Jansen will walk us through how he has built what he was calling a product using data insights and AI to completely change this experience and make our sales and CS teams more effective.
Right, thanks, Srini. Right, so I think at the start, typically, we'll walk through the rough overview first, and then we go into the demo. But typically a sales or CS rep will come in to what you'll see, like a custom application later on, right, that we created with Workbot on Workato, right? They request for QBR deck, and it triggers a series of recipes, or what over here we call the AI QBR deck generator, and it does three things, right? One is get context about what the conversation is about, and then second is take all the relevant information we need from different sources automatically, and then from there the last step is generate the relevant insights, what sort of recommendations that we want to have in the conversations. Once we have these three things together and completed, we then go on to generate an automated deck with insights and visualizations before we also pass all these insights to ChatGPT with OpenAI to auto-generate, right, the personalized talk tracks that is curated for any sort of audience. And then subsequently, rather than have to wait several days, we get these QBR decks in a couple of minutes, and then we can then prepare for a very productive QBR session. Right. So without further ado, let me go into the demo. Right. So, here at Workato, we get a lot of work done through Slack, right? And what you're looking at is a workboard application over here, right, that we use Workato to create. And today, 60-70% of our CS and sales teams access this application or tool to get access to all of their customers' information, right? So think something like a customer 360 for an account, and it gives us a health score, an overview of the customer's consumption, and what sort of business processes they are automating with our platform, right? So now I'm assuming the role of a CS person. I come in, and I have a QBR that is coming up, right? And I need to prepare for it, right? So I come over here, all right, I click on run X-ray, and what comes up is like I'm prompted to choose a customer, right? And over here this list of customers is all integrated with Salesforce, and I can only access my customer data and not other people's customer data, so that's secure in that sense. So here I'm going to meet with Stella Solutions, right? We have a QBR coming up in a couple of hours now. So I can select them, and I know that I'm going to meet with a VP of, say, people operations, right? And over here you can choose any sort of persona. We've gone through a lot of thousands of customer calls, and we've already created a set of a persona that we've seen before. So in this case, if I type, for example, just VP, there are like a couple of permutations of like different types of roles that are available over here, right? Now, so anyway, back to what's happening, right? So I'm speaking to the VP of People Operations, and I know that Stella Solutions, they just bought like a new, say, HR system, and this is a QBR conversation, right? And in this case, I'm looking for really just a couple of talking points, where uh, and the focus areas, maybe I'm focusing on reducing cost of hire, maybe something to do with improving time to hire, and boosting candidate experience, right? So something like this, and I click submit. Now what's happening over here is once I click submit, gives you we're running back-end jobs, right, to extract all the information. Remember that three-step process where the automated QBR deck is doing. So what's happening now is we are getting all the information from our tables in Snowflake, putting it into a deck, right, and then creating visualizations, and also at the same time passing all these insights into ChatGPT, and then creating these auto generated talk tracks, right? So over here, this is done, right? I'm going to click into it, and this is what it looks like, right? So over here you can see that, in this deck, it gives us a full summary, right? Starting from like a partnership conversation summary, where we can see, some top level summary of like our partnership with Stellar Solutions so far, some historical usage growth over the last 12 months or 18 months, for example, as well as some other summaries in terms of like how much capacity they've consumed, what sort of use cases they have done with Workato. There's also areas of like value mapping, where we talk about, hey, these are some of the automation so far. And what we have here is really, some sort of scorecard, right? Where we show you, for example, over here, the full list of like different types of automations you can do with Workato in terms of a finance business process, as well as the HR department. And you'll see over here, right, that along with the visualizations, so like the painting of these boxes, whether they have automated it or not, is also this talk track over here, right? And we can see that there are a couple of I guess I can bold it now, situations, right? Parameters that we put in earlier, right? So VP of people operations talking about specifically, regarding some sort of hiring use cases, right? And over here, we provide some sort of talk track where we raise, 2 or 3 key points, as well as key ROI or benefits they can get from.
Jansen, can you make it bigger so it's a little easier to read? Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Let me just. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So over here, you get a full a sense of how we were able to create this automated talk tracks by contextualizing it for this persona, as well as looking at what sort of use cases they can be building. Right. Okay. Yeah. So this deck didn't always look like this at the start, right? So what we did initially, this is what it looked like, right? It didn't have anything. There were no colored boxes, and there were no beautiful charts that you see, right? All these things started from what we call like a master template, and then subsequently, when we trigger the recipe, we get all the data from Snowflake, and then we then run some recipes to update and like color these boxes, right? So let me go into this how we are actually doing it, and show you some of the actual recipes behind the scenes, right? So what we have over here is the master recipe, where once it's triggered, right, the first step of us going into Snowflake to get data, right? And what's happening here is that we actually already used AI to pass through a lot of the technical metadata, and classify this metadata into like business processes and so on. So all this data is stored in Snowflake, and and the insights about customer mostly lives in Snowflake, right? And all we are doing here in this first 2 steps is to fetch the data out of Snowflake using a couple of queries, where we queries a couple of tables right over here, right, to get the relevant data, right? So similarly, this is another table, and the next step is to then populate them into like a Google Sheet to create charts, right? And what you notice here, right, is that in order for us to determine which boxes to light up, we need to do some sort of mapping between the names of the boxes, as well as the object IDs uh, within Google Slides, right? But we could have done this using if else statements and whatnot, but our team, we are familiar with Python, and it's a lot more elegant for us, right, to be able to use it in a single step to do some sort of mapping logic just within Python itself. So once we've retrieved the data, and we've figured out, okay, these are the boxes we want to light up, we've mapped it to the object IDs, right? The next step is to just very simply go through our Google Slide connector, and then pass that information in, right? So over here there is the data pills, right, that we had from the Python script earlier. We pass it in, and very simply, with this step, we are deciding, hey, these are the boxes we want to light up and whatnot, right? And of course, over here we are creating the chart in Google Slides, and it's what you see on the slide deck, right? Right. The second thing is, once we've created that slide deck, and we have all that nice charts and colored boxes is just one part of the automated QBR decks, right? The second part is creating that talk track, right? So I'll go ahead and stop the recipe over here so that I can go into edit mode and we can take a deeper look into it, right?
Jansen, again, zoom in if you could,
Oh,
please, just to make it more readable. Thank you.
okay. Is this okay?
Better for me. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So if you recall earlier, there was that pop-up just now, right? Where we use some Slack elements, and it's we have what's happening there is it's really prompt engineering over there. So we're taking some parameters here, right, to determine, hey, what sort of conversation types are you going into, what sort of persona, what's the focus area and whatnot, right? And again, once again, we're retrieving some of that customer usage insights from Snowflake table, right? And we are getting all that from Snowflake, and then we're extracting it out. Now the second step over here is we are searching the persona information, right? So we're looking for a certain title. Now what this data looks like is actually something like this, where this is just a sample, right? But we have an exhaustive list of different titles, and what you see over here is also a couple of interesting things, right? The first one being what responsibilities, based on this persona, if you're a benefits manager, if you're VP of people operations, what your responsibilities are, right? What your pain points are and what your needs are. And what this does is that we are able to look at the persona you're talking to, contextualize all that usage insights, all that data points that you have, and make it such that you speak a language that your target audience resonates with, right? The something that a product owner cares about might be very different from what a VP of people operations might care about. So what we're able to do, and all these things again, they are generated by AI. There is no manual inputs over here. It's just saying, given this persona, what are the common pain points and needs that they might have, right?
Jansen, I'll just add one thing if you can go back to the table. So there was a question around hallucination, and in this example, we created this content in terms of the various personas that a CS or salesperson would be speaking with, and that's the job title and such, the responsibilities, pain points, needs, and so on. Even though it was generated by using GenAI, it was curated. And so what does that do is when Jansen goes and picks it, hey, I'm going to talk to people, a VP of people operations, the GenAI response that creates a talk track, it doesn't hallucinate and create some talk track that maps to a VP of finance or VP of marketing or so on. It is in the context of VP of people operations that this data set is guiding the prompt to use. So it's a way, I think that there's a terminology called RAG, retrieval augmented GenAI, and we are using some form of that to validate the response, making sure it fits into what VP of people operations in this case will expect, and avoid any kind of hallucination in the responses.
Thanks, Shiri. Yep. So once we have all the data and we've retrieved the typical pain points, the responsibilities, their needs for that specific target audience, we go ahead to then start creating the prompt, right? And over here is a variable we create, and you see that some of these data pills, they might look familiar, right? For example, the talk track type, whether we are in a QBR conversation, renewal conversation, who the persona is, as well as you see over here from step 3, the key interest points, the pain points, as well as the needs, right? And you also see like the focus area that we also put in the Slack UI earlier on, right? The next step is for us to loop through this usage insights, and over here we can see like the total number of sub-processors, business process names, or very generic benefits prompts that we want to put in. Now this is for us to standardize and say that, hey, given this use cases that you have automated, you haven't automated, these are some of the things you're missing out on. And one thing that's super important for us to call out here, right, is that these data is all very generic, right? There is no customer information, no customer data that is sensitive that goes in here. And for example, the conversation type that you saw earlier, in step 4, the value that goes in here is something like QBR, right? So these are the type of values that go in, and there's no way for ChatGPT to know that, hey, this data belongs to a certain customer and whatnot, right? And once you're done with iterating through and constructing that prompt, right, we go on to step 8 over here, where we pass this to ChatGPT, right? And here at Workato, you have a couple of options, right? You can, if you have an entire chat transcript where you have a lot of context as to, maybe even from a call that you had with a customer, you can use that. But in our case, we constructed a brand new prompt, right? So we are using a single message here, right? And it's very simple. We spend the last couple of steps, putting that prompt together. So all we need to do is to just put this data field in, right? And this is what we'll send to ChatGPT, and we'll get a response accordingly. Now, the next step is over here. You can see in the model. Over here, you can choose any sort of model that works best for you, right? It depends on what access you have, or maybe you have another team that built a certain model that you can use, right? In our case, we use the generic 32K context model here, because we realized that, hey, having a larger context helps, especially when the data set gets a bit big, or if there's a lot of automations that have been done with the customer. This is when it helps. So yeah, you can choose whichever model works best for you, but in our case, 42K is best, right? The next one is temperature. So basically, a higher temperature, right, maybe more than 1, close to 2, results in a bit more of a diverse and creative output. While a lower temperature, something closer to 0, is something that someone would use when they are doing some sort of coding, right? In our case, we found that temperature of 1, which is the default value, worked the best for us. Depending on your use case, you might want to have something a bit more creative, or something a bit more deterministic and more focused, right? And then finally, this is regarding token limits, right? Something that everyone's probably aware of when you talk about ChatGPT. You want to limit the number of tokens that can be generated, so that you can curate the output accordingly, right? So over here, once this is done, what we do is go ahead and we take this information, and then we pass it into this, again, the Google Slides connector again, where we can very simply take that response we see over here in this data tree, based on the prompt we pass to ChatGPT. We are able to retrieve a response, and then we can insert a talk track to the slide deck. Okay. Hold on. Let me think. Okay. Give me a moment. Sorry, finding the sorry, I lost the deck. Okay, let's use this. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the demo, in terms of how we are creating it, right? So with the X-ray board, really, we are able to get full insight into a customer's automation journey, right? And today at Workato, with that, we've been using it for different kinds of use cases, different kinds of conversations with customers, right? From a partnership summary to benchmark, even to upselling opportunities, to inspire our customers to talk about, hey, what sort of other automations they can be building, as well as a quick summary of the value that they've gotten with the platform. And if we take a step back and think about how this has changed, right, in terms of how teams are approaching QBRs traditionally versus today, what we have done with this, right, is that we've created personalized customer deck, right, in less than 3 minutes. And even in the demo just now, it was maybe even less than a minute that we generated it. It's also helped us boost productivity for our CS teams, right, where they are able to have productive QBRs, where all the talk tracks are standardized, the talking points are standardized, and you can create a really good narrative to have that conversation with a customer. And as a result, it's helped us increase the number of successful renewals and upsell opportunities. Yep. 3D, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Mike, yeah, why don't we finish up with this? I'll just call out on the prompting side of things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think some real time, a real world impact in terms of like how this has influenced us or helped us at Workato, right? Is up to date. We have over 2,000 automated, generated QBR reports, right? And it has given us, more than a 70% coverage in terms of like the types of business processes or that have been automated with the different automations built by customers versus prior to this, where all these things had to be done manually, and even then the coverage was like less than 1%. And in terms of the number of hours saved, right? Typically it would have taken us about almost, I guess, 40 hours, 30-40 hours a week to just put a report together. And right now, we save over 8,000 hours per month, right? And it's influenced more than $1 million in terms of the deals that have been influenced by this X-ray bot, right? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I think one thing, folks, to think about, like all these prompts, everybody, if you have access to ChatGPT or others, you could easily go and create these prompts. What Jansen demonstrated through a standardized interface, like with the X-ray bot, it makes it simpler. The decision points for the CS and the sales teams, who they're going to talk to, what is the context in which these insights or this deck will be used, and provide very personalized, like, hey, I'm going to talk to somebody from VP of operations. In our last email, we had this conversation, and these are their business goals around driving, improving the hiring speed, boosting the candidate experience, and so on. And all they need to do is input those into 3 or 4 boxes, and they're done. Rather than have everyone learn how to do prompt engineering and so on, it's a simplified experience from a prompting standpoint. So, but again, all these, this is the first or second iteration from a prompting standpoint. As we gather feedback, the prompting will get better. The content is in the talk tracks, the talking points that are being generated will get better. So it's not a thing that is once created and done. It requires constant learning and optimization to make it better and what's effective for the folks in the field. So that's, again, something to keep in mind when using both AI and automation. It's a continuous improvement. So that brings us to the close of this demo. Thanks so much, Jansen, for staying up and walking us through this. And folks, there were some questions around hallucination. Hopefully we answered that, like how we prevent that in this particular example. And the recipes that we are building out of these demos will be available in the Workato community library. So you should be able to discover those. I'm not sure how usable they will be as is, but you get a sense of how to configure these prompts and get a template to get started with. So thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking with you in a month's time. Anything else to add, Jansen?
No, all good. All good. Thanks, Tree.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.